All right, boys. So we're going to get into this schedule here today. So again, schedule was released. Dolphins are, the preseason. We're probably not going to get as much into that. They're playing the Bears, the Lions, and the Jaguars. 2 road games, 1 home game. But I think what we're more concerned about here is the regular season schedule.
Mhm.
So I'm going to pull that up right now for you guys so we can kind of go through it together. All right. So there it is. Dolphins are opening up on September 7th at 1 o'clock
Can you scroll
against
up?
the Indian. What's that?
Scroll up a little bit.
Oh, yeah. 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 So there's the preseason at the Bears, at the Lions, and a home against the Jaguars. Um, and then they're opening up the regular season here against the Indianapolis Colts. Um, Now, we all remember what happened in Indianapolis last year. One of the most brutal games I think I've ever had to witness as a Dolphins fan, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, that was tough. That was real
Yeah.
tough.
But instead of going game by game, well, we're probably going to go through it game by game. But first, I want to just get your guys' initial thoughts on the schedule here. So, Josh, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think there's some real high points. I think there's some real low points. I think the fact that we have 5 primetime games is a big deal, albeit a very scary one given our historical track record with primetime games. But I think it shows confidence in this team based on all of the offseason moves and what this team is structured like and what it looks like. And there's some lows, but I got to be honest with you, looking through the schedule as it, that's in front of us right here and having some time to have digested it, I really like how the away games fell in our favor for a lot of our divisional opponents. And then some of our away games kind of later in the season. Yeah, we got some cold games that worry me a little bit because, we're not good in cold weather. But, I think it's a very favorable matchup, right? With 1 or 2 tough stretches, but it's nothing we can't handle.
Yeah. I think we came in, we had one, I think we had the 5th easiest schedule in the NFL going into the season. I think the Bills had something like 2nd or something like that. So, there are some favorable matchups here. I agree with you. And a lot of primetime games. And Taylor, you pointed this out, off air. The NFL must like us a little bit, right?
Yeah. And what is it? 6 primetime games, including the Madrid game?
Yeah.
So it's going to be one of those things to where everybody at the beginning of or whenever these schedules get released, they go, oh, we're going to go 17-0, or oh man, this is number 1 hardest schedule in the league. We won't really know until about week 4 of this season what these teams are going to be. We really aren't. So I'm not going to really go like, oh, we get the 5th easiest or whatever. But you look through it, you got like the Colts, you get a lot, like you said, Josh, a lot of away matchups that you're not really mad about. But then you get all those primetime games, and I'll tell you what, you also see the Chargers down there, which are a very physical team and what they were known for last year. This is going to be a season where McDaniel can really fix some narratives about this team, or they're going to be reinforced. And I don't know, maybe we are looking at over the draft, basically, I think the coaching staff and the GM, there was mixed signals there, right? About like, oh, are they going to actually stick around? They're getting pieces for 2026. You look at the way the schedule broke, and I'm starting to think like, no, this is a make it or break it season for them.
Perfectly said. Yeah.
Yeah. And getting into that point though, Taylor, like this is so, you look at all the primetime games, and the narrative surrounding the Dolphins is they choke in the primetime. So you got a primetime game against the Bills here, primetime game, Monday night game against the Jets. Then we scroll down a little bit here. We've got a primetime game against the Ravens on Thursday night. Commanders in Madrid, 9:30 on Sunday morning. We get to have breakfast with the Dolphins that day.
Yep. I love where the bye week is, though. Seriously.
Yeah. And it's right after the Madrid game, so it gives them a chance to get over that jet lag and everything like that. And then we got the Steelers, another Monday night game. Bengals Sunday night game. This and you talked about the cold weather games here, Josh. So at the Jets in December,
Mhm.
at Pittsburgh in December,
Mhm.
at New England in January.
Yeah.
So this is a chance, in my opinion, for the Dolphins to kind of break up some narratives here.
Well, I will say
You know?
this though, the reason I'm excited about, and I say excited cautiously, right? We don't know how this. By the time we get into close to November, December, we could be injury ridden like we were last year, or we could be healthy and on fire on all centers. Who the hell knows? But I like the fact that, for example, the Bills, right? They're the big brother of this division and have been for a while, and I'm not going to pick against them until we beat them on a consistent basis. However, I like the fact that we get them at their house in September,
Yep.
and then we have them in our house later on in the year, right?
Yeah.
So is it week? It's a little bit. I think it's after.
November 9th.
Yep. Yeah, after Baltimore. So that's a tough stretch that we have going right there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Baltimore, Buffalo, Washington.
You could even include Atlanta in that. Atlanta's probably going to be improved this season.
And look, the Browns have a serious defense too. I mean, they're not going to be good on offense, I don't think. But so I mean, there's some challenging stretches here. I think we have like one of the easier schedules for the first stretch of the season, which is great. Let's get in there. Outside of the Bills game, I think is probably the hardest game we have to start the season. But let's get in there. We have the Colts, which I think is a very winnable game with Tua at the helm, not some random backup. We have the Patriots, which I think they did have a really good offseason. However, I think they're still in a rebuild mode. They're getting their coaches the first time all their coaches are coaching together. It's week 2 of that new regime, if you will. So I think that's really feasible. I'm not picking against the Bills, right, until we beat them. So, I mean, hopefully it's a close game at least, right?
Yeah.
And then we play the Jets, which are beatable. So, I mean, and then Carolina. So those 5 games outside, there's one tough game in that 5-game stretch, which I think will bode well for us if we can stay healthy, right? It'll kind of get the juices going.
Yeah, absolutely. And
something else I want to point out, sorry, Keith, is you look back to last year, right? Like you had San Fran on the schedule late in the year. Yep. You had Houston on the schedule late in the year. And prior to last season, I was looking at Houston like, oh man, this is going to be a bloodbath. They're on the come up, right? They were taking the Ravens or Chiefs, one of the two, to the limit in the playoffs the year prior with a rookie quarterback. And they end up being a team that we play close. And if not for some really bad plays by Tua and Tyreek Hill, might have ended up winning that game. San Fran, team that you look, oh man, they are the pinnacle of the NFC. Nope. Yep. They were injury riddled just like the Dolphins. And by the time the Dolphins played the Niners, it was basically a case of attrition, I guess.
Yeah, battle of attrition.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And Keith, you remember when we did, and I think, Taylor, this was before you joined the show, maybe? Yeah. When we did, we did our predictions last year. And that like last 8-game stretch, we were like, oh, we might win 2 of these games. I mean, who the hell knows? I mean, these guys are, and the teams that I mean, we didn't do real well last season, but the teams that we were playing, if we were even somewhat healthy and somewhat, in rhythm and had some consistency on the offensive side and on the defensive side and didn't have Jordan Poyer, I think we could have won some of those games. Cause to your point, to your point, Taylor, sorry, they were very winnable games, right? So when you look, you have to be real cautious as fans, right? Because the first thing I did as I looked at it, I'm like, all right, we're going we're winning 13 games, right? Yeah. And I was like, okay, maybe not. Like, here's a loss. I could see a loss here. I could see a loss here. I could see a loss here. I could see a win here. So who the hell knows? Honestly.
Yeah. Where did the Panthers end up actually improving? They go get Ted McMillan in the draft. They get a bunch of weapons around Bryce Young, who looked good the second half of the year. 2 years ago, Dolphins played the Panthers. It was a boat race. That's not an easy win off the bat to me. So it's going to be interesting to see how these teams match up 3 to 4 weeks into the season. But for me, just looking at like what these teams at their core are, like I was saying, this seems like a season to where Mike McDaniel is either going to fix a lot of narratives about this team, or we're going to be looking at a new coach and new GM. And I honestly didn't expect it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this:
to the schedule release.
I'll tell you this: I could not agree with you. I could not agree with you more. I don't think it's just the coaching staff, though. right? I think a lot of narratives across the team are going to be made, and a lot of careers are going to be shifted around if things don't go well. I mean, we're talking Tua, we're talking some of the bigger wide receivers, we're talking maybe a complete teardown if the season goes tits up. We're talking about a new coaching staff completely. Maybe we keep one of the coaching staffs and we move a certain defensive coordinator to the head coach role. Maybe, who the heck knows? Maybe a new GM, maybe even a new owner. Not that that would ever happen, but like, I mean, some crazy things can happen if, I mean, this is, I do believe, and I said this on the last couple shows, and I will continue to say it for those fans that don't believe me, or the fans that aren't listening because they're in the back row. For even if you're super pumped about this team, we are in a soft rebuild. Yeah. That is just the facts of the matter. We're not in a full rebuild. We're not in a tear it down. Let's sell everyone. Let's get a bunch of draft picks and let's start over. But usual windows in the NFL are 5 to 6 years. We are going into year 5. So it's put up or shut up. And we're retooling. We went from the 3rd oldest team or the 4th oldest team last year to a top 5 youngest team in just one off season, which I think is going to be great for attrition. And even if there are injuries for a speed recovery, right? How fast these players recover from these like nagging injuries because they're younger. So I think, there can be some good, there can be some scary because we lost a lot of veteran leadership and a lot of experience. However, it's going to be a fun damn season, fellas. I'll tell you that much.
It is. Yeah. Going into this season, even before the schedule was released, I kind of said this was a Custer's last stand kind of season. Yeah, for Tua, for Mike McDaniel, for Chris Greer, for a lot of players on this team. This is, like you said, Josh, this careers are going to shift or stay the same, or a lot of careers are going to be defined by what happens this season for the Dolphins. And then I saw the schedule release, and that's only kind of reinforced my thoughts on this, where, a fairly easy first 5 games. And then you get into the Chargers, tough game. Browns could be a tough game. Falcons, Ravens, Bills, Commanders, tough games.
That's the hardest stretch of the whole season, in my opinion, right there.
Yes. And then you come out of the bye, you have the Saints. The Saints aren't supposed to be very good this year. The Jets again. And then you have at the Steelers, at home against the Bengals, at home against the Bucks, who are a pretty good team. And then at the New England Patriots, who we don't know what they're going to be at that point in time. But what I do know is that's a January game, a January game at Gillette. Now, I've been to Gillette in January. I've been.
It sucks.
It's brutal. It's cold. It's brutal. It's windy. It's, again, the Dolphins are going to have to pull out a win maybe in Pittsburgh. They're going to have to pull out a win against the Bucks at home.
Which I will say,
the Bucks are a good team.
Don't forget, Pittsburgh isn't rocking some great quarterback right now. They're rolling into the season with who?
Mason Rudolph.
There is a non-0% chance that the Dolphins are playing against Skylar Thompson and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Could you?
That's true.
Imagine. Oh, I would love it.
I would love it.
Yeah. So I think, you look at the Saints, tough team, right? Yeah. I think underrated team, but they're probably starting a rookie quarterback. Yeah. The Jets are the Jets. Pittsburgh, I mean, unless they sign some or make a trade, they're rolling with, Mason Rudolph, which, for all intents and purposes, it's going to be a hard pass for me. Yeah. Now, they did upgrade their weapons at wide receiver, right? I think they got DK and George Pickens.
No, George Pickens with the
He left. Yeah. They replaced him. They replaced him with DK, right?
Yeah.
Cincinnati, I think it's going to be a tough game, but I think it's a winnable game. I do.
Well, I think they're all winnable games, Josh. That's the point. Is that I think that the Dolphins are firing on all cylinders. If Tua's healthy, if the offensive line gels, if Anthony Weaver can get the most out of this defense, I think this, Falcons, Ravens, Bills, Commanders stretch, I think the Dolphins can go
2-2,
2-2, 2-2 in that. Like, I would be happy with 2-2 during that stretch.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. With this stretch, I think we can even afford to go 1-3. Yeah. With the rest of the schedule. I'm not saying that that's best case scenario, but worst case scenario, we go 1-3 and we're still at the 10-11 win mark by the end of the season, potentially. Right.
But but the thing is, Josh, and this is why I caution people against, like the 1-3. Like I want 2-2. I don't want 1-3 because 1-3 doesn't bust up any narratives.
No, of
One
course
and
not.
three, 1-3 doesn't make people think the Dolphins are a serious football team.
No, I'm with you.
And I want I want the Dolphins to have a Matrix moment. I want them to have a moment where you remember at the end of the Matrix when Morpheus, Neo's fighting Mr. Smith in the subway tunnel, and everybody's like, "What's he doing? What's he doing?" And Morpheus says he's beginning to believe. I want this Dolphins team to have that Matrix moment where they're beginning to believe that they can that they can hang with these big boys. They can hang with the Baltimore Ravens. They can hang with the Buffalo Bills. That's my dream here. And maybe I'm reaching for the clouds. Maybe I'm dreaming too big. But that's what I'm looking for here.
I don't think you are. I mean, I think you might be setting yourself up for a little bit of failure here, right? I mean, again, I think it's hard to say this now, right? Because yes, I'm with you 1000%, right? More than 1000%. The problem is if in week 4, or whenever we play the Bills first, was it week 3?
Yeah.
If Tua decides to scramble for a first down again and dives head first and gets a concussion, we're going 1-3. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like it's that simple. If Tua can stay healthy, even quasi healthy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, still play, even if he gets nicked up. I mean, that's normal. That's the NFL for you,
Yeah.
But if he's still on the field, we saw it last year. We've seen it for his entire career. He makes this team look different. I'm not saying he's the best quarterback in the league. I'm not saying he's this. I'm not saying he's that. But you cannot argue with the facts of the quarterbacks that we've had on our rosters for the last few years, which is a very low bar, if I'm being completely candid. However, the team runs much more efficiently with Tua than it does without Tua. So if he can stay healthy and take the sack, take the busted play, stop scrambling. I mean, it's hard to tell a competitor not to do these things, but when you make 35, 40, 50, 60 million dollars a year and you're this important to a team, get over yourself. You know what I mean?
Start making business decisions.
Right. Exactly.
Now,
and Keith, you said something earlier about your expectations through the draft and then with the schedule release and the schedule release reinforcing their expectations.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because I actually had a different reaction. Because after the draft, I kind of had that thought process of, hey, maybe one or the other is on the hot seat, but it really came across as
Chris Greer isn't.
Yeah, there is something going on with there's 2026 being built up draft wise, and whether we think they're on the hot seat or not, Stephen Ross seems to be pretty committed in some kind of direction.
Well, to both of them. I mean,
to both of them.
You look at Miami Daniel. He doesn't look like his job's on the line.
Look at the decisions. Expectations post-draft were, hey, let's see a physical team. Let's see a team that's competing in December and January and is actually seeing a different culture than the speed demons. What is your phrase you always use, Josh?
Ferraris in a snowstorm. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So not seeing that, but more of a team that's winning fights and not football games. And now after the schedule release, I think it's why it's so important to see the when and the how. And not just months ago when we figured out who the Dolphins are playing. Now seeing, we're playing the Bills week 3. There is 6 primetime games, including the Madrid game, on the docket for the Dolphins. Now it's set up to where you can't really skirt around these narratives and just show a different culture on the team and get by. The way this schedule is set up is you're either going to sink or swim.
Yep.
Yeah.
For a career.
You're either going to buck those narratives or you're not. And in which case, I agree with you. Like based on what happened during the draft, maybe Chris Greer is under some sort of impression that his job is safe here, Taylor. But he shouldn't be. He shouldn't.
Well, now I have a different. That's what I'm saying. Now, after seeing the when and the how, it's very difficult for me to look at this team and go, if you put up a 8-9 record again, but you fight your ass off, you can keep your job. No, there's too much that is against what the criticisms of what the Dolphins are.
Also
on this schedule for them to get by.
I'm done with excuses though, too, Taylor. Like I'm done
Yeah.
with, well, Tua got hurt. Yeah, okay, Tua's gotten hurt a lot. The Dolphins' offensive line got injured. This guy got injured. That no more excuses. It's put up or shut up. It's Custer's last stand. Either win these games, these cold weather games in December, or you're gone. Either win these games, either go 2-2 in this stretch against the Falcons, Ravens, Bills, and Commanders, or and make this fan base believe that you're something more than an easy wild card matchup for an eventual Super Bowl champion.
Well said.
Either do that, or it's time to move on. And I like Mike McDaniel. I like Chris Greer. I like both those guys as men, as people, and I like some of the things they do as people, employees for the Miami Dolphins. But it's time. No more excuses.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear it anymore.
Definitely agree. But you get my point. Like if this was filled with a bunch of 1 p.m. games on Sunday, maybe 1 to 2 prime time, I could see a universe to where Dolphins are 9-8, barely missed the playoffs. But you know what? They fought.
Yeah.
Maybe not the fan base, but the Dolphins organization with Stephen Ross can go, hey, we'll give them another year. This was a soft rebuild. The way it did fall, though, is nope, there is no second year. This is going to have to succeed now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say this, though, fellas. I am still terrified about our secondary. I mean, we've done absolutely nothing to give me any confidence about it. So, I mean, all of these games that we say we should go 2-2, and hey, it's a little easier at the beginning. It's a little easier at the end. Yeah. I mean, we're running out Storm Duck and Cam Smith starting 2 of our 3 cornerback spots. They all might be hard. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, that being said, I'm not crapping on this team. I like a lot of the things that they did this offseason. I think I alluded to it earlier. Getting younger was huge for this team. Sorry, go ahead, Keith.
Well, the offseason isn't over either, John.
No, for sure.
There's still moves to be made. Yeah. As things stand right now, I completely agree with you as far as the secondary is concerned.
Yeah, and that's why it's hard, and I agreed with you guys because I was like really excited. For those of you that don't know already, that aren't regular watchers of the show, I'm kind of a nerd, so I go down rabbit holes and start like, I was prepping for this show, and it was just, all right, we're going to have a low-key show. We're going to talk about the schedule. We're going to talk about some coaches. We're going to kind of just have some fun. And I did the whole season preview, predictions, and all this stuff, and I was just having some fun. And then I thought about it, and I was like, well, that's stupid, right? We don't know what cornerbacks we're going to have. We don't know who's going to make it through OTAs. Like, who the hell knows, right?
But I do want to do an exercise here with you guys, and we're just going to do this, fly by the seat of your pants, no analysis or anything. I want you to give me wins and losses as we go down the list here.
Perfect.
All right. So I'm going to start with the Colts game at Indianapolis. Josh, win or loss?
Oh, that's a win.
Taylor?
I'll say win.
Are you keeping track of this, by the way?
I
just curious.
You know what? I wish I had a pen. Where's my pen?
I got it.
All right.
Hold on. Sorry for those that are watching. This is going to be a fun little thing later. All right.
So 1-0. I'm going to also give them a win. Okay. All right. So New England Patriots at home, week 2, win or loss, 1:00. Taylor?
I'll say win.
I'm going to say win.
Me too.
All right. So we all have them 2-0 going into Thursday night matchup against the Buffalo Bills. This game feels eerily similar to last season because this is what happened last season, and this is when Tua got hurt and everything got derailed. And all right, so it was week 2 last year, though, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to give them a loss here, guys.
Same.
All right. So we all have them 2-1 going into the Monday night matchup against the New York Football Jets.
W.
I think it's a doubleheader. It looks like a doubleheader based on the start time. But I don't know what the other game is. But I'm going to give them a W as well.
Yeah, same here.
All right, 3-1, fellas.
3-1 going into the Carolina Panthers. Much improved. Bryce Young looks better. Ted McMillan was drafted. Get to see Robert Hunt again. Bittersweet there.
Mm-hmm.
What do we have against the Carolina Panthers? Win or loss?
Win for me.
a way tougher than expected win.
Oh yeah, no,
I-
I'm not like I thought we weren't doing analysis, but yeah, this is not an easy win by any stretch.
Yeah. No, I mean, and for everybody out there who's watching, we're going to dissect the schedule.
Well, before the
Closer to the
season
season.
starts, we're
Yeah.
just having some fun here,
Closer
so
to the
don't
season.
hold us to any of these things.
Yeah, this is a fun little exercise we're doing, just because the schedule's released and we're all pumped about it. So I'm also gonna give them a win here, Josh.
All right, we're all 4-1, fellas.
Going into the Chargers game at Hard Rock Stadium, Dolphins. Last time they played the Chargers, it was that Week 1 matchup where they traveled across the country until it lit them up.
Mhm.
But a lot of things have changed since then. Jim Harbaugh's the coach. What do you think, Taylor?
I think this is a loss.
I'm going to give him a win here.
I got a loss too.
Okay. So I have him 5-1. Josh and Taylor have him 4-2. We're going to Cleveland next. It's October 19th, so it's probably not going to be super cold just yet. It'll be chilly. It'll be pleasantly 45, 50 degrees at game start time.
Nice and cool.
We don't know who their starting quarterback is going to be. They have a bunch of options to choose from. They have Taylor Gabriel, the Shador Sanders, Joe Flacco, ton of options.
Mhm.
What do you think, Josh? Win or loss?
I have this as a loss, but I think it's going to be like a 1 or 2 point game.
Okay.
That's like my gut telling me,
I'm going to give him a win here.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a win
Jesus,
here as well.
Keith, you're setting me up, brother.
I know. I have him 6-1.
You have him 6-1. Taylor has him 5-2, and I'm at 4-3.
Yes. So we move on, and this is the tough stretch we were talking about here. So we're going to Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Dome. Michael Penix is their quarterback. Bijan Robinson's. This is going to be a tough one. Josh, what do you think?
I got him a dub, and I think it's going to be not a close win.
Okay. Taylor?
I also have a win here.
I have a loss here.
And I also marked, by the way, on my little cheat sheet here while I'm writing down wins and losses from all of us, this specific stretch so we can go back and talk about it.
I have a loss here against the Falcons. I think they're going to be a much improved football team this year. They're going to challenge the Bucs. They're going to get the Bucs all they can handle for that NFC South crown. We're going to move on to the Thursday night matchup against the Baltimore Ravens, a primetime matchup. All right, I'm going to start on this one. I also have a loss on this one. I think the Ravens
back to reality, ladies and gentlemen.
Guys, the Ravens just have our number.
They
They
just re-upped Derrick Henry, didn't they?
Yeah, this is a team that just pisses me off how good they are. I hate them almost as much as I hate the Bills, Jets, and Patriots. But
they got Malachi Starks in the first round.
Yeah,
I still think about that sometimes.
I still have nightmares about that. No, I don't just think about it. All right, Taylor, what do you think? What do you think?
I have a win.
Ooh,
okay.
spicy.
To me, it feels like the Dolphins always play. I know we just said no analysis here, but I feel like the Dolphins always play the Ravens. Other than that one game where Tua came back with 6 touchdowns, it's either a huge blowout win or a huge blowout loss.
Yep. Taylor, fight the urge to do analysis, brother. Our fans are fickle. They're going to hold you to anything you say.
All right, so I have a loss. Josh, what do you have here?
I have a loss too.
Okay. So what are our records going into this Bills matchup, the second Bills matchup?
I'm 5-4.
I think I'm 6-3.
Taylor is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7-2.
All right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6-3. Yep.
All right. So we have a 1:00 game against the Buffalo Bills. Pretty straightforward matchup, Hard Rock Stadium, November 9th. So, it's not going to be a cold weather game in Buffalo this year. I have a win in this one. I think the Dolphins finally get off the schneid, finally beat the Bills. Dude, guys, they were close last year. Remember that. They were close last year. So, Josh,
I have a win too. Yeah.
Taylor?
Well, the reason I mentioned the Ravens thing is because trading back wins and losses. I'm going with a loss here with the Bills. I'm not picking them to win until they do it.
Okay.
That's fair. That's a smart move, actually.
Yeah, you're probably smarter than Josh and I. All right. So now we have the Commanders game in Madrid. Primetime game, breakfast with the Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
I have a win in this one.
So do I. I think,
I think the Commanders are this year's Texans.
I disagree on that, but I think Madrid levels the playing field.
Taylor?
Give me the commies.
All right. So going into the bye, what are our records here, Josh?
I'm 7-4 in the bye. And we went 3-1 in that hard stretch before the bye.
Yep.
Taylor, you are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wins, 4 losses, and you went 2-2 in the hard stretch. And Keith, you are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You are 8 wins, 3 losses, and you went 2-2 as well.
Yeah.
In the hard stretch.
In the hard stretch. And again, 2-2, I would be happy with. Expecting 3-1 seems like a bit much for that stretch.
Well, sorry. I think Atlanta's very beatable. I think the Buffalo Bills at home. I think if we're healthy and if things, there's a lot of ifs, right at this point. But I think they're, if you're going to beat them, you're not doing it in Buffalo, so it has to be in Miami. And I think Washington, if it was in Washington or in Miami, I probably would give us an L. But the fact that both teams are traveling, they're traveling a little bit further than we are. I don't know. I like the level set here.
Fair enough. All right, so we're going into the Saints matchup, another home game. Josh, what do you think?
This one was tough, but I'm trying to be realistic. Just with my gut here, I think this is an L.
Wow. Okay.
Even though they're probably starting a rookie quarterback, but
yeah, coming off the bye, I have to give them a win here. Taylor,
I'm gonna give them a win.
All right. Next, we are traveling to MetLife, one of these aforementioned cold weather games, December in New York, at the Jets. I have them winning this one. Taylor?
Same. Win.
I got us losing it, man.
Wow. Okay. So what's your thinking here, Josh? Like the Dolphins are starting to feel the heat of, the late season football again, or
no? It's just, again, without knowing injuries, having to just have some fun and forecast a little bit of things. I have to assume, as much as my gut is screaming not to, Tua is going to be hurt.
Okay.
Right. Or someone's going to get hurt, or he might still be playing, right? But he's not going to be 100%. And there might be growing pains with some of the offensive line in our secondary. Without knowing who we have, I can't assume that we're going to get some world beater cornerback out of nowhere. So, I think the Jets, for all of the crap that I talk about them, because I don't like them, I really genuinely don't. You look at some of their pieces.
Yeah.
They have a talented squad, especially on defense. And, where I don't trust their quarterback at all, they have a star running back, in my opinion, who was probably primed for a bounce back year. There's a lot that can go into that game in New York. And the reason I put an L to the Saints too, is because I think that's a very winnable game, but you've just gone to Madrid. You're coming off a high of a big win against the Commanders and a big win against Buffalo, in my opinion. Then you're in the bye and you're coming down off that high and you got a little bit of rust, and then you got to go play this, and you got to play the Saints at home. So I think that's why it's a close loss. And then you're in your feels and stuff. And then maybe there's a nagging injury from the travel abroad or whatever the case is. And you're going into that Jets game and that's a classic. Oh, we're playing the Jets, but crap, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers next week. You know what I mean? In prime time.
All right. Well, let's move on to that Steelers game. We said we weren't going to do much analysis, and here we are.
Sorry.
No, I asked the question. That's my fault. So at the Steelers, I had this one as a loss, actually. I think just Heinz Field it's Acrisure Stadium now.
Is that what it is? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, they dropped the Heinz.
Did you say loss?
I have a loss. I have a loss against the Steelers. Taylor?
Oh, man. Keith, you doing this is both genius and diabolical. Just on the fly, making us go through the win-loss of this team. I'm going to go loss.
And also, we're going to do like a full show on this with analysis and everything.
Oh yeah, this
right
is
before
just
the
for
season starts.
this is just for fun.
You know, this is just we're just having fun here. It's not
Yeah.
you know, I'm not going to hold you to any of these, especially come
Now hold us to
August when we do this show. No, it'll be fun to look back on this in August, though. You know, like 3 months from now, it'll be fun to look back on this and see what we had to say. So Taylor, what'd you say?
it. I think this is a loss.
All right, Josh.
I think this is a loss too, which gives us 3 L's in a row on my calendar.
Damn.
Yep.
All right. Well, now it's back to Hard Rock Stadium against the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow, and I have a loss in this game as well.
Taylor,
Josh?
what do you? Oh, me. I got a win.
Okay. All right. Taylor.
I am also going win.
All right. I think. Well, you know what? No analysis, right?
Nope.
Tampa Bay Bucks, Hard Rock Stadium yet again, and I have a loss in this one as well. So that gives me 3 straight losses, actually.
Hey, just like me.
Yeah.
I have a win. So we flip flopped.
Yeah. Taylor,
Is this home or away?
this is home against the Bucks. It's home.
I'm gonna still go loss. I would go with my cut.
Okay.
And then finally, at New England Patriots at Gillette Stadium, time to be announced. Josh, what do you think about this one?
I got a dub. And I think it's a beatdown.
Okay, Taylor.
The Patriots finally beat Tua for the first time. This is a loss.
I'm going to give him a win. I'm going to give him a win here. So tally it up, Josh. What do we got?
All right. So, I mean, Keith, you are at 11-6
Okay.
with 2-2 in that hard stretch that we identified going into the bye. Taylor, you and I both are at 10-7, just vastly different how we got there. You went 2-2 in that hard identified stretch before the bye, and I went 3-1.
I'm surprised that you're at 10-7. I was really expecting you to be like 6-11 season because
Me?
that last stretch was filled with loss after loss.
I mean, it was only
Yeah.
3 in a row, and then it was
Yeah.
win. So we went 3 losses, 3 wins going into the playoffs. Hopefully,
All right.
But hey, I'll take a 10-7. I really will.
Yeah.
Because there is some wins in there that I think would be quality from all 3 of us as well that we predicted here. So I'll take that.
All right. Well, if you have any thoughts about this in the comments, please leave them. What you think the record might be, how you think this schedule shakes out for the Dolphins. And if you like what you saw here, please like, subscribe, and we will see you next time.